Perfect, thank you very much for joining me. Yes, my name is Sean and you're watching MLS Ireland Does Predictions after a very exciting night. Stay tuned. Perfect, thank you very much for joining me. Yes, this is MLS Ireland. I'm Sean. The predictions, not too bad. Actually done quite well last week, to be fair. Got a couple spot on. Got a couple correct. Just the results. Somebody winning, somebody losing, all that kind of jazz. Not too bad. And as I said, if you're new to this, hit that subscribe button. I have a Patreon. It's down somewhere below if you want to do whatever. Basically, yeah. So yeah, I may as well crack on because I take a long time to do these things, and the last thing you probably want to be doing is listening to me. So I might as well crack on with the first one, which is Charlotte against Inter Miami. Now, I like Charlotte. The Charlotte's doing very well. They're doing very, very well at home. Their last game was against Atlanta, and that was a 1-0. They beat Cincinnati the game before that. So they're doing very well. The last 3 games were away. Only scoring 2 out of the last 3 away from home, but this is not going to be too bad. They're going to be at home against an Inter Miami team who got beaten by New England 2-0. I think I got that result correct anyway, I believe. Can't remember now. It's a long time ago. So Inter Miami coming up into Charlotte. I think Charlotte, with their home record and with their, basically their fans behind them, I'm going to go for like a 1-0 win. Charlotte are starting to probably find a home base, basically get the home record going, and if you get a home record going in MLS, you will have a good chance of making the playoffs. So I know it's looking like that. The next one is Montreal against Orlando, Florida. Yeah, I said that right. Orlando. I usually say Colorado for some reason, but anyway, Orlando. Montreal, who are surprisingly in 10th, which is not too bad. Orlando is in 5th place. So it is going to be a trickier one to predict. Montreal probably have a better record as of yet. They haven't lost anything in the last 6, which is pretty impressive. I know they started out the season quite badly, whereas Orlando got beaten in the last home game, which wasn't great. Their home record isn't too bad. They beat Columbus Crew in their last home record, so I'm actually going to go for a Montreal, just for the fact that Montreal are in a better shape of form. They haven't lost anything in the last 6. They are, they're scoring goals quite convincingly, but they are conceding goals. So I think Orlando probably will get a weak one on this one, but it's going to be like a 2-1 win to Montreal. The next one is Atlanta against Chicago Fire. I don't know why I said it like that in an English accent, but I did. So Atlanta now sold Mulroney, bastards. Or traded them for money. So, they sold him. They're not doing very well. He's probably better off at the moment because they're not doing all that great. They've lost, in their last 4, they've only drew the 1 and lost the rest. Lost the 3. Not great. Against Chicago Fire, you would expect them to come up with a good result, but Chicago Fire now are starting to, how can I say it, score goals. They're conceding goals, but, they're starting to score goals too, so it is a tricky one. Their last away game was a 3-0 defeat against Minnesota, which wasn't a great result, but coming up against a poor Atlanta team who are struggling at the moment without a goalkeeper and a proper striker, I'm going to go for like a 1-1. I'll be surprised if it ends 1-0, but I think Chicago Fire will get a goal. I think Atlanta at home are capable of getting a goal, so that's probably where I'm going to go with that one. So I'm going to go for a stick with my 1-1. The next one is New York City FC against Sporting Kansas City. Now, Sporting Kansas City are awful at the moment. I don't think they haven't even won an away game yet. No, they have not. Whereas New York City FC have won their last 3 home games, albeit in which home, God knows. And I do not know where they're going to be playing this weekend. It could be in Citi Field, or it could be basically in Red Bull Arena. Nobody knows, but they did have a good result in Red Bull Arena last year. But anyway, I digress. It's going to be a 2-0 win to New York City FC. Sporting Kansas City are just, I don't know what's wrong with them at the moment. Just not great. New York City are just, I'm not going to say scoring goals, because they should have really beaten San Jose Earthquakes by a lot more last week. They just beaten Toronto by 5-4, and then the week before that they scored 6 against the Real Salt Lake. This is their 4th game on the trot at home, so this is going to be an interesting one. Again, like I said, at home. It should be like a 2-0 win, so I'm going to stick with that. The next one is New York Red Bulls, so I would suggest they're not playing in the New Park Arena. But anyway, interesting that these two teams are actually playing at the exact around the exact same time. What time are they actually playing at? Yeah, two of the teams are playing at the exact same time in the New York area. I'll go with that. On the East Coast, I'll bet that's better. New York Red Bulls coming against Portland Timbers. Portland Timbers are not entirely good on the road. They've only won the one game. Not great. And New York City Red Bull are not that great at home because they haven't really won a game. So they kind of like drew 2 and got and lost 2. But coming up against the Portland team, who don't really travel all that great. I'm going to go for like a 1-0 win to New York Red Bulls. I do think they're capable of getting that win at home. They just need probably Portland's the team to get beaten by them. Get that goal against. You know what I mean? 1-0. The next one is DC United against Houston. Now, this one's actually quite an interesting one. Houston have lost 2 games and won 1 away from home. DC United have won 2 and lost 3 at home. But I think Houston are starting to play a wee bit better, to be fair. So is DC United, even though they got beaten by Columbus Crew last week, but that was away from home. And in their last home game, when they sacked their manager, they beat New England 3-2. Again, not in an exciting, because New England are not doing all that well. But Houston Dynamo got beaten by, I think, FC Dallas there last week. Austin and FC Dallas. So, to be fair, they're coming up against DC United team. I'm just going to go for like a 2-1 win to DC United. It is an interesting one. It could possibly be a draw. God knows this is MLS. Houston could probably win by 5 goals to 1. This is MLS, so God knows really, to be fair. What do you think? Comments below. All that jazz. I'm waiting. Never mind. The next one is New England Revolution against the Columbus Crew. New England, like I said, aren't very good at the moment. Granted, their last 2 home games, they've beaten Charlotte and beaten Inter, so they're starting to pick that up. And they're coming against a Columbus Crew team who won their last game against DC United, but their last away game was against Sporting Kansas City, which wasn't a great game. But they're coming up against a New England team who, at home, they're not too bad, but I think this record is going to be a bit weird. I'm going to stick with a 1-1 draw. I may regret that one, to be fair. But no, I'm going to stick with 1-1. I think New England should possibly win this one. I will suspect them to get a goal, but I think Columbus Crew are going to be that team to really be hard to break down, and they're going to sneak a goal, or probably not deserve a goal, or there's going to be a red card, or there's going to be something stupid where they get that goal. So I'm going to go for like a 1-1. I know this is out of facts, or stats are all kind of basically out the window, but that's the crack of MLS, because stats don't, or form doesn't really matter. The next one is, never mind. Minnesota against FC Cincinnati. Minnesota. It is an interesting one. Minnesota, who are now starting to play well at home. They've won, I think, 3 of their last 5 games. 1-1 and drew 1. They're coming against the Cincinnati team, who won 2 away from home as well. So that's not too bad for, quite frankly, FC Cincinnati. FC Cincinnati are actually not bottom of the table, which is pretty impressive. They won last night, beating Toronto 2-0. Then they played Toronto the weekend before that and won 2-1. So they got Toronto's number dialed down, even though Toronto got a player sent off fairly. But still, away record against Minnesota would be impressive, but I'm going to go for like a 2-1 win to Minnesota, just for the fact that Minnesota are 9th in the league and their home record is better than Cincinnati's away record, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean. So I'm going to go for like a 2-1 win in that one. The next one is FC Dallas against the Champions League winners, Seattle Sounders. FC Dallas are a very good team. They haven't lost anything in the last while. At home, they've won all their games. Away, they drew all their games, so it's not bad. I know Seattle are 26th in the league. But granted, they've only played the 7 games. I would suspect basically they keep them fresh for the Champions League, and they won it. But it is going to be a trickier one. I think they have the capabilities of beating Dallas, but I'm going to go for a Dallas win 2-1. Just for the fact is Dallas had a week to prepare. Seattle had a very exhausting week last night, and I would assume they've been partying quite a lot, and they're probably just not going to, well, I know it doesn't really matter in MLS when they don't really get much time to break, have a break, really, to be fair. But I'm going to go for like a 2-1 win to FC Dallas. The next one is San Jose against Colorado Rapids. Now, I was quite surprised San Jose beat Seattle last week. Was it last week? Or 2 weeks ago? Possibly 2 weeks ago. They played very well against New York City FC, to be fair. Then they scored, well, New York City scored 3 in the second half, but not too bad. I think they're going to actually win this one 1-0 against Colorado. It is going to be an interesting one. I think, do they have that new manager bounce? Possibly. They don't have a manager, but they have that kind of, we need to impress the next guy, so all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go for like a 1-1. Colorado are starting to slip up. I know they won their last game against Portland, but away from home they haven't been that great. So I'm going to go for like a 1-0 to San Jose. Next one is a very good game. This could go anyway. LAFC against Philadelphia. Los Angeles are top. They only lost one game. That was against LA Galaxy, which isn't a bad result. Philadelphia, not in a great shape of form. They got beaten by Toronto, drew at home against Montreal, and then drew away from Nashville. So saying that, their away record, Philadelphia's away record's not great at the moment. They're drawing too many games away from home. And they're coming up against the Los Angeles team who are perfect. As perfect as they can be, really, to be fair. So I'm going to go for like a 2-1 win to LAFC, sorry. 2-1, yeah. It's probably a fair result. I think Philadelphia should probably get a good result out of this one, but I think Los Angeles are too strong, and they're not going to walk away with the league unless Austin does well. But Austin's the closest to them, which is strange. Anyway, 2-1. The next one is Vancouver against Toronto. Now Toronto lost their last 3 games. Granted, 2 of them were against Cincinnati and New York City FC. They're coming against the Vancouver team who are bottom. So a Canadian kind of a derby, well, they're miles apart. They're like here to Russia apart. Here to New York, really, to be fair. So I'm going to go for like a 2-1 win to Toronto. Just for the fact is Toronto are a better team. Vancouver aren't. Simple as that, really. Vancouver only won the 1 game this season, and it's not going to be against Toronto. The next one is Nashville against Real Salt Lake. There's a lot of games. Nashville at home against Real Salt Lake. It's going to be a pretty impressive one. Nashville, the masters of last season of 1-1s, and they're coming up against the Real Salt Lake team who are actually doing quite well this season. Their away record isn't too bad. Granted, out of the last 6, they've only won the 1 game, and that was against the LA Galaxy last week. Saying that, they're coming up against the Nashville. I do think it's going to be a 1-0. This is Nashville's second game in their new home, so you should think they're probably going to get a good result out of this one. They drew against Philadelphia, which isn't a bad result. So I'm going to go for like another 1-0 against Real Salt Lake. Sorry, Nashville. And then the last one is Austin, second in the league, against LA Galaxy, who are 7th overall in the league. So that's pretty impressive. I think they're 4th in the Western, so not too bad. Austin, 20 points. LA Galaxy, 16 points. So you wouldn't have thought that at the start of the season. But anyway, Austin are very good at home currently at the moment. They're not too bad away from home as well. Granted, but this is the reason where I'm going to go with this result. They haven't really played anybody quite good yet. Like granted, they beat Minnesota, but then they beat DC United, not really. They beat Vancouver, not really good. Beat Houston, not really. They're coming up against a very good Alex. What I'm saying is they haven't really beat anybody near them. As I'm saying, Minnesota is probably the closest team, and that was like a 1-0 win. And they're actually playing very well at the moment, so a 1-0 win's not all that exciting. So I'm going to go for like a 1-0 to Nashville and LA Galaxy. Just for the fact is, I think Austin are capable of getting a good win in this one, but I think LA Galaxy are probably a stronger squad, but I think Austin have the belief. But I think this is probably going to be a proper match for them, so I'm going to go for like a 1-0, and yep, I'll leave it there. So yep, those were my predictions. I hope I didn't ramble on too much. God love the person who edits this and watches it. Well, me. Anyway, perfect. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you see you soon, and I hope to see you on the next one. Bye bye.